Good afternoon and welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to acknowledge at this time our Commissioner of New York State Parks, Rose Harvey. State Parks Commissioner, Cindy Abbott-Litro. Cindy. President of the Niagara Tourism and Convention Corporation, John Percy. John, thank you. Perhaps a little hint of one of the announcements that's going to be made today, Mamie Simonson. Mamie, have you here? And I'd also like to welcome all of our elected officials, city council members, county legislators that have joined us here today. It's always great when the governor comes to town, and the message he's delivering today is no exception. From investing in our state parks to fundamentally transforming New York's transportation network, there's been no one more committed to growing the regional economy and revitalizing Western New York than our Governor, Andrew Cuomo. Niagara Falls is truly one of the world's greatest natural assets, but it's also one of New York's most important conservation legacies. Throughout his tenure in office, Governor Cuomo has made Niagara Falls a top priority. He's shown a deep dedication to protecting New York's natural environment and promoting stewardship in the region. Just this year, the governor included $300 million in environmental protection funding in the state budget, more than doubling the fund and bringing it to its highest level on record. How about that? And that's just the start. The governor has put forward a sweeping New York Parks 2020 plan to modernize, upgrade, and create a truly 21st century state park system, restoring our natural wonders to their original grandeur. Governor Cuomo continues to invest in what matters most for the people of Niagara Falls, creating jobs, driving tourism, and generating growth in our community. I know that through continued collaboration and partnership, we can build on the gains we've made and keep Niagara Falls and all of Western New York moving forward for many years to come. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce someone who's leading the way, protecting our parks and historic sites, Commissioner Rose Harvey of the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation. Rose.
I want to thank everybody here today because everybody here for a partnership, and everything I'm going to talk about today is because of all what you all did together, we did together, and will do for the future. So thank you. So let me introduce you to Niagara State Park and Niagara Falls State Park and the improvements that Governor Cuomo started and will finish and will make sure they're done. He got it started, he funded it, and he's right at our side to make sure it happens. So Niagara Falls was formed 12,000 years ago, a combination of glacial movement, water pouring out of the Great Lakes. It's one of the great wonders of the world. Since the 1800s, the falls attracted industrialists and who saw the opportunity to invest in it, commercialize it, and in doing so would ruin the beauty that everybody was coming to see. It sparked Free Niagara. It was one of the first, oldest, most visionary parks movement, and it was a combination of Olmsted, Church, Oliver Wendell Holmes, and it began the whole parks movement preservation and their preservation in the beginning of America. And they succeeded here at Niagara Falls. In 1885, the reservation was created. Frederick Law Olmsted, Calvert Vaux, they designed the reservation at that time, what's today is called Niagara Falls State Park. And since then, the oldest park has brought countless visitors, and the Olmsted plan planned and anticipated 200,000 to 300,000 visitors. Today, we're looking at 8 million visitors each year. The New York Times, when Governor Cuomo came in 2011, the parks in Niagara Falls, It was a crumbling facility. It was shabby, underfinanced, with total and complete diminished visitor experience. And this was the case for all New York State parks and historic sites, all 215 of them. There was never any money in the capital budget for 40 years for any of the state parks, the second largest park system in the country, second most visited, most developed with visitor amenities of any park system in the country. And under the leadership of Governor Cuomo, he started right here at Niagara Falls State Park. He saw what was there and what could be and how we had to restore it to what it used to be and make it the huge, mighty economic engine that this park is for the Niagara region. And working with Maid of the Mist, who actually, James Glynn, the owner, Chris Glynn, they were with us since 1885 when we first started the park. And thanks to the governor, they are still with us at the foot of the falls, taking you close and under the falls. And I don't... And also, Nick Walenda's historic tightrope walk with the legislator and the governor's leadership, not only the hundreds of thousands that came out to see it, but ABC put a 3-hour special on the networks about the history, about the walks. Over 16 million people remembered and discovered again Niagara Falls and its majesty and its beauty. And in 2011, Governor Cuomo had already started with the parks even though the state, he was closing a $10 billion budget, the next year a $2 billion budget, he stood up for state parks and he made $900 million commitment to restoring them. That was the beginning and the evolution of the Parks 2020 program and vision. And it is about restoring all the parks, starting right here to their historic, their environmental, their recreational grandeur, but while doing so, modernize them, make them more relevant for the 21st century, and then also all will be built with energy efficiency, with resiliency, and operational sustainability. And as part of Parks 2020, the governor was down just last week to Jones Beach, another transformative, revitalization. Niagara Falls on the west, Jones Beach on the east, the largest bathing beach in the world, one of the largest falls in volume in the world, and the two most heavily visited parks in the park system. And we're far along on the way. So central to Niagara Falls State Park is a $70 million investment under Parks 2020 plan, and it's happening. It's 60% finished with much more to go. The three objectives are to restore the natural resources, the scenery, the backdrop that Olmsted saw to promote the falls and protect the falls and put them in context. But in doing so, to increase the accessibility of 8 million visitors, open up more more promontories, more scenery, and make it easier for everybody to get there, and in the process to modernize the dozens of facilities so we can stay longer, facilities and services, and admire longer. And our work is well underway. We've restored most of the iconic viewing areas. We have Luna Island, which was previously inaccessible. It is now fully accessible to ADA standards. It's planted, it has much more room, it's open to see the American Falls. We have new scenic trails through the Three Sisters Island where the soils were compacted. It was inaccessible. It's open. You can get right up to the upper rapids. We've reconstructed the contemporary Cave of the Winds Pavilion. You remember it was all boarded over. It's beautiful now with glass. We've also, at the Cave of the Winds, remember, many of you went through that 2012 tunnel to get out to the falls. It really made the falls look great. Well, we have restored that, but more importantly, All and everything that we're doing with this 70 million is on the back of the things that you don't see. The elevator, we've installed a new elevator to make it more accessible. All our utilities, all our water, all of our septic, all of our parking, all of that has to be upgraded and modernized, and we're automating that, we're improving transportation flows. And we've also completed Prospect Point Overlook, and you notice the rails, you notice the lighting, you notice the limestone, the dolomite limestone boulders, which are now seating. Well, you're going to see that all throughout the park. There's going to be a consistency of design all throughout it, and it's better than that rail. And as well, we are expanding our trolley service. We've bought many new trolleys, and most importantly, and I should talk about partnerships with the mayor, I should have started with that. We're in the city, making the falls more accessible to everybody in the city, but all throughout the region, all our partners, they stop there, and we're interchangeable in our visitation of all of the tourist destinations throughout the region. And today we're announcing the final phase of our park's renewal, building the Cave of the Winds Café Plaza. It's actually under construction and will be open by the 4th of July. A brand new plaza, opening up more dining, time ticketing. We're developing a year-round Cave of the Winds experience building, which will have the state-of-the-art interactive displays about the history of the falls, the history of energy, and also when you get your sandals and your ponchos, you no longer wait for 2-hour waits, because we'll have time ticketing and you'll be going through this interactive display, and it will be open all season for the winter visitors. We're unifying the park's navigation with modern signage, going from this to this, which also will have all kinds of navigational signs with the same design all throughout the park, so you know where you go, you can get there, and you can get there fast without getting lost. And we're recognizing our location's significant role in science history, the generators, and we're taking the Tesla statue that overlooked the parking lot. And as we all know, Tesla was we're honoring the first ever long-distance transmission of electricity from Niagara to Buffalo. Tesla, the founder of alternating currents. And he's going to overlook at Stedman's Point the falls, the source of energy, where he should be, and we can interact with them more completely. And today we're announcing the redevelopment of Terrapin Point, overlooking the Horseshoe Falls. It will be open the 4th of July. You're going to have grasses, natural scenery, but also you're going to have paths for everybody. Everybody can get there, and everybody can see what they've come for. And Taste New York is a booming success. It's the governor's vision. It's about homemade products. It's products made in New York. We have over 1,100 distributors and businesses giving us products, and State Parks is very proud to be part of it, and Niagara Falls State Park is going to be part of it. The sales have already across the state increased 3 times, and the top of the falls with Delaware North, our other fabulous concessionaire, they're going to have Taste of New York all throughout their concessions and all throughout the state park. And under the leadership of Governor Cuomo, our investment in parks and tourism, they're paying their dividends. The attendance is going up. 21% of visitors are spending, 21% increase in visitors spending for tourism. Tourism is a vital part of the economy here, and that's of parks and economic development. They're symbiotic and they help one another, and the governor understands that. So the momentum is great. There's more to come. There's a lot that's been done. Please come all the time, and it is my great honor to introduce Governor Cuomo, who I said before, you can't come up yet. He started it all. He started it in very early on. No other governor has given or ever put state parks or for 40 years into the capital budget. And I also just want to say, it's not just about funding it. It's not about big vision, but it's also about getting it done and putting it on the ground. He's not satisfied till it happens, and that's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. It is truly my pleasure to be back. And what a beautiful day. And I tell you, when you were at the falls and you're looking at the falls and we had the full rainbow and the Maid of the Mist in the picture was really spectacular. So it's my pleasure to be back on such a beautiful day. First to your Mayor Poldeister, who is my kind of an elected official. He's a get-it-done guy. He's doing a great job. Let's give him a round of applause. Rose Harvey is a gift to New York and a gift to New York public service. When you hear her and you hear her energy and her passion, it just communicates. She sincerely believes in the mission, and she's extraordinarily good at getting it done. And you put those two qualities together, and that is a phenomenal public servant, and that's just what Rose Harvey is. So, Rose, Commissioner Harvey, thank you very much. I've been spending a lot of time with Commissioner Harvey. We're coming into tourism season now. We're actually in tourism season. So we've been looking at our state parks and the project that we have underway with the state parks. State parks have, in the past, been overlooked and they've been undervalued. They really are very important places, you know, and sometimes you say park and they say, well, that's recreational, that's non-essential. The exact opposite is true. The park system and those pieces of property and those assets are essential to who we are as individuals and essential to what we are as a state. I use the expression that it's food for the soul. You go to the parks, you're getting back in touch with nature and Mother Nature. You're bringing a sense of spirituality to yourself. They are also the places that tell our story. Civilizations have stories, and they pass on stories. One of the ways we pass on our stories are through our parks. They tell our story of development. They tell the story of warfare. They tell the system of the best of times in New York and the worst of times in New York, and some of the great natural gifts we have in New York. And we missed that for a long time. And it was undervalued, and we did not maintain the park system the way we should for many, many years. And it just continually degraded. My generation, I just saw parks continually degrade. I can remember that from the time I was about 10 to about 20 years old, they just got worse. They just got worse. And they got so bad that they were almost embarrassingly bad, you know. Have facilities that were unusable, the decay, the degradation, and it made the point that people just don't care, you know. The exact opposite statement of what you were trying to make with the park system, which is these are special places, you should visit them. The disrepair and the degradation made the opposite statement, that we ourselves devalue these great assets. We reversed all of that with the Parks 2020 plan, which Commissioner Harvey was a phenomenal asset and tenacious advocate, and it's close to $1 billion. Now, people say, well, state budget, different parameters. $1 billion is a lot of money. I don't care whose budget you're talking about. $1 billion is a lot of money. And this was a major investment. And it was controversial. because we did have budget deficits. We were cutting taxes at the same time, and I'm very conscious of cutting taxes and getting costs down. So $1 billion investment in parks was a major initiative for us. But we did it, it was right, and now you know it's right because you see it coming to fruition. And you see it in parks all across this state. And you see it right here in the jewel of the park system at the Falls. I mean, this is going to be an entirely different experience. And from where that newspaper that shall go nameless said it had gotten to be shabby, this is now going to be a first-class experience, as it should be. Now, about preserving the asset and our legacy, which I take seriously, that we should turn over these assets to our children in a better position than we inherited them. That's part of our citizen trust, our parental trust. There's also an economic component to this. The parks are actually great economic generators for the state of New York. We spent $1 billion to repair the parks. I argued, no, we invested $1 billion in assets that will drive tourism. And listen to this. I've always believed that, especially in upstate New York, we have more beauty and a better story than people even appreciate. And all we have to do is get them to come once and see what we have, and they will be sold. So we invested very heavily in tourism. And we invested in the I Love New York campaign $130 million. State parks are really at the heart of the I Love New York campaign. They're one of the biggest sets of attractions around the state. We invested $130 million in I Love New York, a lot of money again. We invested $130 million. What happened? We have an increase in tourism, which is twice the national rate. Tourism has gone up about $6 billion on a $130 million investment to over $60 billion in economic activity for the state of New York. One of the big generators in jobs for upstate New York is tourism. And the state park development and the investment in I Love New York, they're hand in glove, they're working together, and that's why you see that industry taking off, and it's doing even more, and it's going to continue to do more. We have 8-9 million visitors now. Wait till they see this new facility and they see how beautiful it is. You're going to see those numbers go up even higher, which is good for Niagara Falls. It's good for the economy. It's good for upstate overall. And that's the point of the entire exercise. You know, we talk about jobs for Western New York. What is the big issue? Jobs. We need jobs. We need jobs. Well, how do you get jobs? Well, you bring businesses. It's not as easy and simple as just bringing businesses, because businesses come when the overall community is working, right? You can't bring businesses to places that are failing. You can't bring young people back to places that are failing. So really, to get jobs back, you need to revitalize the entire community. I have a buddy of mine who went to the doctor a couple of weeks ago, and the doctor said he has a heart problem. And he has to do some things to take care of his heart. I said, what do you have to do? He said, well, I have to lose weight. I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't eat this. I have to stop smoking, I have to stop drinking, I have to exercise, I have to lose 20 pounds. I said, oof, maybe better you die. I said, don't they just have a pill that you can take and it fixes the heart? Do you really have to do all this? He says, yeah, they said there's no pill. I have to lose weight and I have to change my whole lifestyle to cure the heart problem. I said, wow, but life is better. Jobs are like that. We want jobs in Western New York. Well, it's not that you just get jobs. Jobs come when the transportation system works, and the schools work, and the recreation works, and the downtown works, and there are attractions, and the community is safe. You really need to make the entire body work to keep the heart healthy. And the heart is economic development and the jobs. Really, the jobs are a product of everything else you did. And jobs are coming back to Western New York at a faster rate than I would have ever imagined. We have more private sector jobs in the state of New York today than we have ever had in the history of the state of New York. Just think about that, 7.9 million jobs. Upstate New York, we have 100 new jobs. In 3 years, the unemployment rate went from 7.9 down to 4.7%. Just look at that drop in that period of time. So the jobs are coming back. Why? Because the community is coming back. And because you had the courage to take on long-term problems that were allowed to fester for years. And that's what's interesting about Western New York. We didn't solve any new problem. We didn't come up with any new formula. We just solved problems that were allowed to linger and fester for decades. For decades. I had the same conversation in Western New York for 20 years. Always the same problems. But we just couldn't bring ourselves to tackle them. Peace Bridge is the greatest example. That Peace Bridge argument went on for 20 years. Reminded me of the married couple next door to the house I grew up in. They argued for 20 years. It never got resolved. What are we going to do about the Buffalo Bills? We don't know what we're going to do about the Buffalo Bills. Are they going to stay? Are they going to go? Are we going to have a new stadium or not a new stadium? What are we going to do about the Maid of the Mist? We don't know about the Maid of the Mist. How do we build Canal Side? What do we do in Canal Side and Harbor Side? What do we do with the outer harbor? We don't know what to do. Same conversation for years. And we never grabbed the problem and tackled the problem. You know what we're doing now? We're not just getting things done. We're going back and grabbing these old, thorny problems nobody wanted to resolve, and we're rolling up our sleeves and we are resolving them. And that's what's happening. And that's why I credit the mayor, and I credit the council, and I credit the entire community for having the courage to solve the problems that we ran from for a long, long time. You're never going to solve a problem that you deny. And the only way to deal with it is to get your arms around it and understand that you have to solve it if you're going to move forward, and we did. A perfect illustration of that is the Robert Moses Parkway. The Robert Moses Parkway we have been talking about for more than 20 years. Now, Robert Moses himself is a controversial figure, and I don't want to get into Robert Moses. He did a lot of good in a lot of places. You saw the slides of Jones Beach State Park, which is out on Long Island, which was a phenomenal vision of a really positive, beautiful thing. He also did some things that were not good, and he also made mistakes, like anybody else in life. The Robert Moses Parkway was a mistake. It was a mistake. You don't block off your greatest asset, which is your waterfront. You don't close off communities. It was a mistake. And we've been saying it was a mistake for 20 years. Some people have been saying it louder than others. Mamie Simonson has been saying it the loudest of all, and she wouldn't let us forget. Okay, so it was a mistake. So what are we going to do? Fix it. That's what we're going to do. Go out there, get a hammer. It's a road. It's simple. It's asphalt. Get a big hammer, like a sledgehammer. Hit it enough times, it will crack. And take out the old road, and you put in a new road where it should be. And you open access to the water, and you make it pedestrian-friendly and community-friendly. And that is the project that we are in the midst of. It was a mistake. We're changing it. We're fixing it. And it is part of the new Niagara County. It is part of the new Western New York. It is part of a new mentality and culture that says we're not just going to stand by and bemoan our plight. We're going to go out and we're going to fix it. And we're not going to duck the tough problems. We're going to grab them and we're going to fix them. And we're going to make this place a better place. And that's what you're doing everywhere. And the signs are everywhere. The cranes are everywhere. The progress is everywhere. Today we saw it at the state park, but you can see it everywhere you look. And you can see it with the Robert Moses State Parkway. And as a memorialization of the new day, we're going to rename the Robert Moses Parkway because it is no longer the Robert Moses Parkway. I like the name the Andrew Cuomo Parkway. Nobody agreed with me. The mayor liked the Paul Deister Parkway, and the commissioner liked the Rose Harvey Parkway, so that was a stalemate. So we came up with another name, which really incorporates it all, the Niagara Scenic Parkway. That says it all. And let me ask the mayor and the commissioner and Cindy Litro and Mamie Simonson, who has been a stalwart champion for change, who never gave up, and who today the proof is in the pudding. We heard you. You were right. We now have a new parkway thanks to your advocacy. Come up and let's unveil the new sign. We'll have a countdown. Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo!
$70 million investment in state parks. Thank you, Governor Andrew Cuomo. That's a big number. Let's have another round of applause for the governor. Governor, I want to say thank you on behalf of the community for all the attention you paid to us here in Niagara Falls. We know this investment is going to continue to transform not just our city, but our region and ensure that Niagara Falls remains one of New York's and the nation's top destinations. So can't wait now to take a drive down the Niagara Scenic Parkway. Get home safely.